Hi, welcome. If you've never seen my face before, here it is. Nothing spectacular, but it's not about me, it's about these bad boys on screen here. The reason I have a face cam, well, I opened up OBS, it was on, I said, you know what, screw it, let's do it. Gives me a chance to be a little bit more personable. You can kind of put a face to the annoying voice you hear. So I thought, you know what, let's just do it. Let's just do it for fun. And enough about that. Let's just get into the shotguns. We're going to be ranking every single shotgun, every single ammo type for the shotguns in Warzone, from absolutely do not use to top tier meta. So let's start off with the classic, the good old Coca-Cola of shotguns, the Model 680 with Buckshot. And it's going bad. I know it's probably like, what? Because, you know, if you watch this channel, you know I love this gun. The 680 is such a fun gun to use. But in Warzone, it's bad. It's really bad. It's just so slow. And that really kills it for me, is that speed. I mean, it's always a two-shot kill because the developers thought it'd be a great idea for pump actions to never have a one-shot kill up close, even at 2 meters away, which is like spitting distance. Even if I shove my barrel down someone's throat, it's not a one-shot kill, which is really sad. So it's always going to be a two-shot kill, and it's got a super slow fire rate, man. It's just not great. It's about 800 milliseconds, I think, or past that, actually. It's just too slow to be really, really good. And then we have Dragon's Breath. This viable. It's on the cusp. It's like right there. It's teetering between great and viable. Now, the reason it's not great is because it's, again, really slow, and it's 2 shots to kill in most situations you want to put yourself in. And it's just, overall, there's better options. But it's still, I think, slept on. I think that if you can play right, if you can have the skill for it, you can make this thing work. And yeah, I did say skill with a shotgun. But yeah, Dragon's Breath is definitely the way to go for the Model 680, as it is with most of the shotguns that have it. I think it really helps them. Even with EOD, it's still probably a better option than Buckshot. But again, if you want the most range, you know, it's going to be the Marauder Suppressor, which slows you down, very slow movement speed and aim down sights time. And then the Sport Barrel is also really slow. So it's viable, but it's just not quite great. It's not really there. 680 Slugs, bad. One of those things that on paper sounds really good, right? But Slugs, as you know, man, they're just all over the place. They're just, sometimes they hit, sometimes they don't. They have a slower travel time, it feels like. Well, they do, not that it feels like. And they're just overall inconsistent. Like, it's just weird, right? But I mean, you can get 2-shot headshots up to like 40 meters. I tested this recently, actually. It's pretty cool, right? But when you put it into practice, it's a little difficult to do. And part of this ranking is how like easy it is to use something. And with Slugs, man, they're just not easy. They are. A lot of people will probably struggle with them. And I'm glad they got buffed like months ago, but I think they could still use a little love, maybe, because right now they're just kind of fun, but not really practical. Until the 725, which we'll talk about in a second. 725 with Buckshot, viable. I do think this gun is another one of those like kind of sleeper shotguns. I understand why. It's not really amazing, but with Buckshot, you do get a really good 2-shot kill range, which I'll get into in one of my videos. I'm gonna actually make a video about it. It's got a great 2-shot potential, but it's also pretty inconsistent until you put on that sawed-off barrel, which that really keeps it from being bad, is that sawed-off barrel, because it really unlocks the consistency for this gun. Now, when you have Slugs on the 725, great. This is our first great tier shotgun. I love it. I love using Slugs on the 725. Very skilled weapon to use, in my opinion. You get 2 shots, a reload. If you hit the head, they're down. They're either dead or downed. And if you hit chest, I think you can get 2-shot kills. Below that, it's really not great. But it's high risk, high reward, really great. Overall, the 725 in Warzone is a high risk, high reward shotgun. It's like the complete opposite of multiplayer. Now, Origin 12 Buckshot, great. I still love this shotgun. As always, the spammable, spammy boy shotguns in Warzone are usually the way to go because they just put so much lead downstream. It's way more forgiving. It's not top tier. There's a few things that I don't like about it. I mean, you're a little slow when you have the 25-round drum mag. It's still a really great shotgun, but compared to the Gallo, which we'll see, it kind of falls short a little bit, except for the magazine size. But Origin 12 Slugs. This is viable. Unlike the other slug shotguns, this one is actually pretty decent because you can get some decent headshots with it and you can spam them a little bit. The downside is you only get 8 shots. That really kills it. That really kills it. Same with the Jag 12. 8 shots, just not enough, man. But it's fun. It's quirky. If you haven't really used them in Warzone, try it out. It's fun. And you can actually like snipe people with it, which is hilarious because just imagine dying to the Origin 12 and seeing someone using it. You're probably taken aback at first, but it's hilarious and fun. R90 with Buckshot, bad. I don't know why it performs so bad, but it is. It's just inconsistent. It's got that huge delay in between shots with not a lot of damage output. It's just kind of fallen short in a lot of ways, and it really sucks because when this game first came out, or at least Modern Warfare, this gun was amazing. This gun was absolutely freaking amazing, and it's still kind of okay. It's mostly bad, though. I mean, if you miss those 2 shots, you're pretty much screwed. You know, same with the 680. It has that same kind of risk to it. Now, Dragon's Breath, on the other hand, bam, great. I really think it's great, but not top tier, which a lot of you might have thought it'd be. It's not top tier in my opinion. Again, those 2 shots, if you miss any bit of your pellets or if you miss one of those shots, you're pretty much screwed. You really are. Even with Dragon's Breath on, there's still a little tiny bit of delay between that burn, which again, not a lot of people talk about. They always think it's like this instant, ow, just smacked my hand on the computer, instant 2-shot kill. But no, there's just a slight delay. It's really not enough to make that much of a difference, but it does make a difference. And overall, it's just not top tier. It's falling short a little bit because of that unforgiving 2-shot kill and then the bad rate of fire. Slugs on the R90, bad. Again, one of those things that on paper sounds really good, but it just kind of falls short. It just doesn't perform very well. I've gotten some good headshots with it. It performs okay in Plunder sometimes, but man, like leading your shots with it, and sometimes your shots just go way off. It's just the most weird thing. I don't recommend using it in Warzone. Plunder, sure, go ahead and try it. But if you want to use slugs, you know, use the 725 really, or the Origin 12. That's a little bit better. VLK Rogue with Buckshot. Oh man. Viable. Put it right here. Viable because it's got the same exact damage profile as the 680, but you have a much better fire rate and good mobility too. Unless you start stacking too much on it, then it slows you down a little bit. But really, it's got some decent fire rate edge to it, and that really helps it. That really, really does help it. Be careful with the recoil, though. That tends to make it a little difficult to control. Dragon's Breath, great. This is a fantastic shotgun with Dragon's Breath on it. Unlike the 680, again, it has a faster fire rate, so that makes it a lot easier to use. But the really hard thing to use about it, in my opinion, is the recoil. You really have to be able to control it well, which on controller, it's a little bit more difficult than on PC, but you can still do it. It's not like it's impossible, right? It's not like it's really that difficult. But if you put no stock on it, your recoil is a little noticeable. VLK Rogue with slugs, I'd say they're viable. Again, like the 680, they're just a step up because of that fire rate. And yeah, again, the thing with this one is you have to watch out for that recoil. That is really going to do you in. That's really been my biggest issue, is I'm always like so unexpectedly caught off guard by the recoil this thing has with no stock. And that's how I always run it, is with no stock. Next on the list, the Gallo. Oh man, right into top tier, baby. You know this gun is top tier. It's going to be infecting Warzone very, very soon. It's already infecting it, but it's an amazing shotgun. There's so many different ways you can kit it. The combat stock is insane. I'm thinking about making a video on it. Does it need to be nerfed? I don't know, guys. When you actually see in third person how fast you can move, it puts things into perspective a little bit more. It's really strong. It's got a great fire rate. You can bump that fire rate up. It's got great damage. All the attachments, well, most of them do something now, except for the rear grips. But the barrels do stuff. The task force barrel is usable. It's just a great shotgun. If you haven't used it, man, you got to give it a shot. It's ridiculous. Hauer 77, viable. It's just like the VLK Rogue. It's a step up from the Model 680 because of the fire rate. Its damage profile is basically the same, but its range is slightly behind it. It's like so close to it. I actually think it's on par, but I think it was just slightly behind the range of the 680. But the fire rate, man, makes up for it. And you can get a little bit of a faster fire rate with it, but I honestly think it's better to kit it for range because the fire rate difference isn't that much more noticeable. But still a great shotgun. But again, these pump actions, man, they need a one-shot kill range. I'm not asking for it to be like 5-10 meters. Just give us something. It's ridiculous. Street Sweeper. Oh boy. Where do you think this is going? Well, going in top tier. It's, in my opinion, it's so close to the Gallo. The Gallo is just like so much more versatile, but the Street Sweeper is, holy hell, it's also really good. And it does have I believe it has the fastest time to kill for the shotguns up close if you put on that reinforced heavy barrel. You know, 3-shot kills, and you got a really fast fire rate. It's amazing. It's really fast. And the only problem with it is its damage drop off at like 8 meters or something like that. It starts to be a little unforgiving, but you can just spam it like crazy. And granted, these two shotguns, their reload times are pretty bad, but I think that you can make it work in duos, trios, quads. As long as you have someone watching your ass when you're reloading, I think you can make this thing work in a lot of scenarios. Jack 12. A lot of people really like the Jack 12, and I can kind of see why, but to me, it's not top tier. And again, this is preference. Some people might think it is top tier. It can be. But I think that its movement is a little too slow. It's very quirky. It does have a slight open bolt delay, I've noticed. But overall, it's just a damage drop-off is pretty bad. You can't really bump up that fire rate like the Street Sweeper, which really, that's the great thing about the Street Sweeper is you can do that. You know, it's close to top tier. But when you start stacking on those like big mags, it really slows you down. And I hate being slow. Like I really do hate it. But you know what? You know, if you feel it's top tier, I can see why. I'm not like saying you're an idiot, but top tier are great. It's definitely where it should be. Dragon's Breath, viable. I think that it does have a 2-shot kill range up close with Dragon's Breath, but man, oh man, it's only 8 shots. That is not good. 8 shots is not good for a shotgun and plunder. Maybe 12 would have been better, then it might have been great. But it's also got a really steep damage drop off, and like at 10 meters, it's going to be like 4 shots to kill. And it's not as good as I think Dragon's Breath on the R90 or the VLK Rogue, which is kind of disappointing. And I really never see anybody using it. I don't think I've ever seen one person use Dragon's Breath on the Jack 12, in Warzone at least. Next up, frag rounds. Do not use. Absolutely terrible. Do not use frag rounds. It's so weak against people. The only redeeming factor about it is that you can destroy vehicles pretty easily, and you can kind of weed people out of cover just by shooting the ground next to them. But man, it's just not practical. As a secondary, it's not very good. There's better options. As a primary, hell no. And it's just not great. I remember when this thing first came out, and this kind of highlights one of the annoying things about the community is that like there was a Twitter video about it destroying a helicopter in a couple shots, and it doesn't do that. It takes like 8 shots to down a helicopter even up close. It was, I think, already weak, so people just started saying it was overpowered. They didn't even try it and test it for themselves. But anyway, yeah, I think it's absolutely terrible. Jack 12 Slugs, also pretty bad, because it's, even though it's like spammable, it's only 8 shots, and it's just so unforgiving, and it's just quirky, it's gimmicky. It just doesn't work well, guys. I wish it did. I truly, truly wish it did, because I love slug shotguns, but man, do not like it. I actually would use the 680 over the Jack 12 because at least it has the power. This one just kind of lacks power. It's got good fire rate, but that's about it. So, and it looks like we got through the whole list already. Wow, that kind of went by quick, didn't it? Yeah, so Gallo and the Street Sweeper, debatably the Jack 12 are the best shotguns in the game to me in Warzone. Sleeper ones you should try. VLK Rogue with Dragon's Breath. Do not sleep on that. Also 725 with Slugs. learn how to aim well, and you can make it work, man. And even if you don't aim well, once you get that one satisfying headshot from like 50 meters away, that's all it takes to convert you to the 725. It's so much fun. Even with the sawed-off barrel, it's fun. So that about does it, guys. If you enjoyed this kind of video, let me know. I already ranked them before in multiplayer, so go check that video out as well. But there's not much else to say here. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like below, leave a comment, let me know what you think of this list and if you agree. And with all that being said and out of the way, I will see you all in the next video.